I'm ready to start learning that the mind is joined, aren't you? Yeah. And it's kind of a key thing about reality. I know we like to think that possibly you're still in a situation that oneness and this idea of oneness and the degrees of what oneness could be, and yeah, more than just being one family or one world, but quite literally, the energetic presence of the spiritual universe is all energy joined, moving all in and throughout, and touching places, elsewhere, and being in multiple places at once. And as much as that's all joined as well, and that's starting to get a little more accepting, and that's quantum physics and all that great stuff is just tapping into this reality. And just like this lesson, we're just barely starting to understand it, aren't we? But you can see in society it's becoming a little bit more acceptable because guess what? It's becoming a little more acceptable in the perceiver of society. You. Oh, doesn't this apply to today's lesson? I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. And yes, tomorrow's is the effects of my thoughts, and kind of the same thing. And if you can think of this and understand this, is that you have an opinion about everything, right? Completely intense opinion about everything. Some people like opinions gentle, have several degrees, instead of some people are black and white, This is excellent stuff to do. This is what you need. This is the good stuff. This is the absolute horror stuff. You do not want this stuff. Stay away from this stuff. Nobody with this stuff ever come close to me. Some people like different degrees. Like, I'm kind of like, if I'm going to judge it with outside of neutrality, as Devin does so often about everything, is that, just a degree, a positive side, yeah, that's pretty good. That means like 0.5 good. or, oh man, that sucks. It's not as bad as, this is absolutely terrible. And you got all these different degrees of what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad. And essentially, everything you can think of, you have an opinion of where it fits on this scale. As this is kind of an extension of that you have no neutral thoughts. Regardless of what it is, we have this upside down and backwards idea that we see these things in the world and then we have thoughts about them. So we hear about them happening. Oh, this person did this to that person and that person is doing this in retaliation, and this is today's news. As much as that might be a negative thing, regardless if it's news or not, you, I'm sure, have dramas in your life happening, and if you're dealing with family and children, oh man. If you have girlfriends, gossip, not anybody can do it, but just so happens that girlfriends like to do it a little bit more, right? And this whole thing, we like to think that it's happening outside of us. But the fact that you have an opinion about it, or even a thought about it, is that you have a space in your mind reserved for it. Yeah. Like there's a space in your mind for comprehending, and if you want to understand it in bodily terms, there's these things called synapses, energetic line pattern things that in our brain, where the transfer of hormones and molecular structure thingies, these little bridges that are literally thoughts, right? So the more you think about something, they become stronger, they become more profound, right? And it seems easier to use because it's just charging every day. I mean, just like the freeway over there, it's getting wider and wider and bigger, higher, more layers, all over because it's being used more. Seems more efficient, right? So if you think of something in your mind over and over and over again, yeah, it's gaining power, regardless if it's positive or negative. And it'll be a little harder to break this little habit you got, because I mean, after commuting for an hour, are you really gonna commute for 2 hours taking back roads? No, come on. Just this last one time, I'm gonna commute just a little longer. No, I don't think so. But once you hit traffic, you're like, oh, no, okay. Back roads it is, right? That's what everybody's thinking. It's more like an overflow of energy. Has to go every which direction. Okay, I'm going tangent here. But your mind, regardless if you think about it or have an opinion about it, you might say you have no opinions about it. No, I'm completely neutral about this subject, which is wonderful, acceptable, and on the direct path to peace. However, if you really want peace, recognize you have a thought about what you think you have an opinion or not about. You have a thought about what you're being neutral about or not. You have this thought, okay? And this lesson is more about the seeing, but just like a thought, you can see that they're a little bit different, right? Now, your seeing is a receptive aspect of these scenarios, right? You're receiving information into your eyes, but it is a constant, almost a constant sensation. I sure remember this. I couldn't get past the sensation of seeing. Even if I closed my eyes, it was relieving to go to sleep because of the relief of thinking I'm seeing. It's a sensation, just like anything, just like all experience, that when you're seeing, you are actually having a representation of those thoughts in which you're seeing, in which you're thinking. Your thinking and your seeing are naturally corresponding together, just like your hearing. You're not hearing me as if I'm speaking just some gibberish. Well, maybe not all of the time. You're not seeing me as if I'm just blended in with everything else. No, you have this natural effect that separates me from everything else. Now think of if everyone did this in a crowded room and deliberately guided their attention to a singular object and chose to see in this deeper level of themselves this object differently. We would all be starting to see it differently, but there's this funny thing that happens. It's likely that you're not necessarily aware of this change because you're also changing the past of what this object represented. So if you're actually changing it, it's usually not some miraculous thing because you're unaware of where the change occurred. Every time you look at an object, you're looking at the past. You're looking at all the things and decisions you've made. So if you were to change the object, you're literally changing the past. I know, this is totally against everything I believe, right? You can't change the past, you just have to accept it. Well, as much as you might be going through your thing, right? And recognizing this, it's absolutely true in the sense in which change is usually thought of. You can't change the past like that. I can't just go up and start tilting the painting and making it straight on the wall yesterday, right? It's not like that, but you can experience it differently how you think of it now. And this is kind of the idea. And we're tapping into more of a mystical approach, magical, what seems not logical identification with how reality is. but it is still there. And I want you to more experience it for yourself. And so we're trying to dive deep. We're trying to get going in this. I'm trying not to give you too much information as we're just beginning. And let's, let it build on itself. And it will grow and expand, okay? All right, so today, I'm here for you, and you got this. You're doing a great, excellent, wonderful, miraculous job. I look forward to all that's going to be revealed. Let's go and have a blessed, miracleful day today, and really ingrain this lesson into our minds, or whatever it is. Let's use that freeway. Let's make it into a freeway. I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing.